Love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, with all of your mind, and all of your strength. And he says, love your neighbor as yourself. The question is, who is your neighbor? And how do you define neighbor? Is it the one right across the street? What if God calls you to serve somebody that you've never met before? Is that your neighbor as well? We're going to be going into New Orleans, and we're going to be exploring what God is doing there 10 years after Hurricane Katrina, where people have defined who is my neighbor and how can I treat them like I would want to be treated. This is the story of mission and what God's doing in the Ninth Ward, as well as going across the tracks to the trolley line of St. Charles Avenue. We look forward to sharing these stories with you on the road in between.
Thoughts keep running through my head as I walk this road with nothing ahead. The sun beams down on my face as I walk this road that leads to amazing grace.
The Road in Between with Tom Sykes is sponsored by John O'Neill Johnson Toyota, CRM Companies, Archer Architecture, Mitchell Signs and Imprints, Glass Incorporated, Benefits Management Group.
Katrina seemed to have won the battle, but the story was not over. Christ came into that city, and with the help of individuals and churches and service groups, God began to recreate. Teams of volunteers poured into the city. Musicians that were the bedrock of New Orleans were urged to stay, for if they fled, the city would have lost its flavor. My pastor friend, Vance Moore, was living in Arkansas, and he sensed God's call to get up and go to New Orleans. He was a building contractor, and with a yellow box truck, he left where he was and went to the lower Ninth Ward. This is the story of Vance and his meeting of Pastor Howard Washington of the Greater New Jerusalem Baptist Church. We are here today in the lower Ninth Ward in New Orleans, and I am delighted to be with two very, very special pastor friends of mine that have really shown me who Jesus is, and it's very, very powerful. And I'm grateful today to have Howard Washington with us, who is the pastor here at the Greater New Jerusalem Missionary Baptist Church. And thank you, Howard, for being here with us, and also to Brother Vance Moore, who has really brought the three of us together, because y'all knew each other, and I was introduced to Howard through you, Vance, and I just thank you for this chance. This is about 10 years since Katrina hit, and we're gathering in your church that you invited us to help into your rebuild. And the theme of this show is on how God recreates out of chaos. And my goodness, that's what happened here.
Yes, Lord.
Absolutely. So, Howard, walk us through a little bit about your place here in the lower Ninth Ward and where it all began.
I run a long time because I felt like I didn't have enough education to be a minister. But God kept on showing me I had to go. One time I was going to a barroom. It was on me so hard to shake it off me. And before I got to that barroom, that Cadillac I had, that cut off like I cut the switch off. I said, well, I tell you, you don't have to go. I can walk on to the barroom. I walked to the barroom, I ordered me a half a pint of White Horse. And I started drinking it. A young man said, man, what's wrong with it? They got some more. And I threw that bottle down and went home and went to sleep. Got up the next morning, the Cadillac was gone. I called the police. And they were looking for it, and I started looking for it, and I found that Cadillac in the bottom, the dust of a nail. I said, that's all right, Lord, I yet ain't gonna preach. Rocked on, about 2 years later, I was laying in the bed around about 1 o'clock. I heard myself say, Lord, you know I ain't got no high education, but you keep on telling me to go out on your word. And I woke up. I said, Lord, I done messed up now. I done promised God. And from that day, I started preaching. But I thought I'd just say a few words. But he led me in to be a pastor of Greater New Jerusalem Baptist Church for 44 years.
So you saw this place just get destroyed. And I'm sure you thought it was over. What did the city say? The city said it was
doomed.
It was doomed.
And people saying New Orleans was coming back. And said Lower Ninth Ward was over with. And that same Sunday I preached in Brandon. I said, as long as I'm living, Greater New Jerusalem is living.
Amen. That's right.
And God,
Amen.
the angels just come from everywhere.
And there's an angel right here.
Under Pastor
Yep.
Dan.
Well, we had responded to a call from the Great River region, which is our denomination in this part of the country. And we started a mission center over on the West Bank. And as we began to look at where the most need was, Tom, we knew very quickly we saw it was in the Lower Ninth Ward. And when we first started coming to the Lower Ninth Ward, there were very, very few volunteers over here. The entire city was decimated. There was a tremendous need here. We came over. We were blessed to be able to house volunteers at Westside because we had rebuilt and we had taken the old sanctuary and with some help from the church that you were pastoring in Meridian, we were able to house volunteers on a weekly basis. Volunteers would come in, we would select people to go out and help, and the basic criteria was that we tried to help the people that kind of fell through the cracks. They didn't have any help. And the one driving force in all of this was we'd give you a hand up, not a handout.
Well, tell us about the baptistry that's right here. Tell us the story of the depiction of it, the painting of it, and who painted it, and then kind of walk us through how it survived.
One of my first cousins came here when I built that baptism pool. He said, I would like to draw John the Baptist baptizing Jesus. I said, can you do that? He said, yeah. I ain't never did that. But I draw other pictures. And he drawed John the Baptist baptizing Jesus. When Katrina came, practically all the other sheetrock on the wall fell off. But that sheet stayed there.
When we started talking about it, several people told me, said, there's no way you can say that it's on sheetrock. And if you understand anything about sheetrock, when it gets wet, you're in trouble. Yeah. It's gone. And I said, well, I don't know. And there were actually 3 groups of people that worked on that, but the one that comes to mind the most is someone out of your church, and I'm going to let you later, I'm sure, going to tell that story. But the beautiful thing to remember is there's a board going across the baptistry, so you're 6 feet up, and there is a lady and a bunch of teenagers, and they're spread out across this thing, and they are meticulously, one little square inch at a time, repainting, redoing the artistry there.
Out of the waters
Amen.
of all images, right out of the waters. And your cousin painted it.
Right.
And those two, John and Jesus, were cousins.
Yeah.
That's right.
Amen.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just loaded.
Yeah,
it's loaded
Lord.
with metaphors,
The metaphors are
images,
there.
and parallels.
But that's
Well,
the-
his cousin that day.
Yeah, Eleanor Henson is
Yep.
the lady
I remember.
who saw it, and she said everybody was doing other things around the church, and she was saying, "What can I do?"
Mm-hmm.
She was a principal, and she said, "Would you mind if we go buy some paint and we'll touch that up?" I'm telling you, since then her husband passed away,
Yes, Lord.
and she escorted him into the church triumphant. But I'll never forget Eleanor Henson. She saw something that could be done.
Yep.
She didn't want to replace it. She didn't want to claim it. She wanted to recreate it
Yeah.
like God was doing
Amen.
right down here. So that's powerful.
I heard volunteers walk in through those doors in the back and say, did you ever notice that no matter where you are, Jesus is looking at you? You know? Did you ever notice that no matter where you are in this church, John's looking at you? And yeah, you know.
Mission work is, to me, the name of the game. But you got to be present to win.
Oh, yeah.
You don't write the check. Don't just write the check, but get involved. Take a weekend out. Go serve on a short-term mission project. Find a place where God's already blessing it.
Uh-huh.
You don't have to recreate something or create something from scratch. Use what God's already working. That's what this place has been. God's already blessing this
Yes, Lord.
this church for all those years. You're 87 now,
87.
and you've been here for 44 years. How about
I've
that?
been pastoring for it.
Pastor for
I've
44
been here
years.
about 50.
50 years. And you can preach. You are wonderful. I love you.
I love you.
Thank you. Thank you, Pastor.
Oh,
Thank you,
y'all
Brother
can.
Vance.
Yes, sir.
You are the best. Y'all
Amen.
are the best.
You're all the best.
We're grateful.
Through Jesus Christ.
That's
Praise
right.
God. Amen.
Amen.
Stick around. The Road in Between will be right back.
Hello, I'm Neil Johnson with John O'Neill Johnson Motor Company. We offer Toyota, we offer Hyundai, BMW, and Mazda.
You can take it beyond the road and go out and have an adventure. You can go hunting, you can go fishing, kayaking, bicycling. Take them all out on the road in between.
Some of the great ones for that, Tom, are the Toyota Tundra, Toyota Tacoma, Toyota 4Runner, Land Cruiser is another good one, the Toyota Sequoia. They're great for the outdoors.
You come by and see you.
John O'Neill Johnson Motor Company, a name you can trust, products you can depend on.
We're back with The Road in Between with Tom Sykes.
Our second stop on the road in between was on the trolley line of St. Charles Avenue. We arrived at the St. Charles Christian Church in the Garden District that is surrounded by a resurgence and affluence. We met with Dr. Tom Pollinard, who practices internal medicine and oversees the church where his father once pastored. Katrina versus Christ. Christ is winning the war on hopelessness. What appeared as overwhelming floodwaters, God would use to bring freshness and a new composition to the storyline of hope. We're here at St. Charles Avenue Christian Church with Dr. Tom Pollinard, who is a member here and has a rich history at this beautiful church right on the trolley line of St. Charles Avenue. And Tom, thank you for welcoming us in.
Well, welcome, Tom.
It's great
Good
to
to
be
see
with
you
you.
again.
Yes, it is. Thank you. And you have a wonderful church. It's a
Thank you.
beautiful church.
Thank you.
Now you've been a member here for a long time.
Well, I first came here with my parents in November 1961 from Texas, so it was a major change. And I grew up here in the 60s, and I was baptized and joined the church Easter of 1967.
Okay.
And my family later returned to Texas, but when I did my residence back in the 80s, I returned.
And you returned here, and when was your father the minister here?
1961 to 1969.
How about those years?
A lot of change.
A lot of change. 61.
And I think they were good times, and a lot of good things happened. I can say that as an eyewitness, a lot of good things happened.
Well, this is your home.
isn't it? I know this church. I mean, this in a lot of ways. But you have modeled for me the power of a community of faith, and how it's impacted your life, and how you want to keep that tradition going for the next generations under you. You have put so much work into the life of this congregation, and that's where we met. And you've made a big impact on me, and I want to thank you for that.
Well, likewise, Tom, because you've been a model to us, and all the things that we know about, but not only do we know about, we've seen you do. Your many mission trips and all the things that you do. So you sort of lit a fire under us too, and got us going.
I tell you, yeah, you did. We did that, but you did that for us. Because when we came down here, we got a big group, about 40 people,
right?
And we helped clean the inside and outside of your church just to get it get it going. But while we were here, what we realized was your congregation not only worships together, but you spend a lot of energy and creativity to be an outreach church. And this, to me, is one of the best missional church models I've ever seen. This is not only a sanctuary for yourself, your congregation, but for other congregations.
Yes, for many years.
For many years. And it's been
It's been shared with Temple Sinai across the street. It's been shared with numerous other congregations, and I think that is just part of the tradition of this church.
Well, it shows the one church, one holy Catholic apostolic church that you talk about, and it's alive. It really is alive, and the missional work that comes out of this. What you taught us when we were down here was, we've got this great big building, but we're really not using it like we could. Whereas this place really is used all during the week. And tell us a little bit about what all you've got going.
But some of the missions that are occurring right now, we have a Spanish school here that meets on Wednesday afternoons. We're sharing with another congregation. We have 20 12-step programs that meet here.
20?
Yes, and they meet every day. And today, of course, is Friday, and there'll be 4 meetings. There was a meeting early this morning at 7, one at noon, one at 5:30, and then a later one at 7. I'm not through.
Oh, sorry. Keep going.
Today was big bread drive. We get a major donation from Sunbeam. I have to put a plug in for them. And we receive anywhere from 300 to 500 loaves. And it's our mission to share that with other congregations and other needy families. And they have blessed us to allow us to do that.
Now, do they drop off the load here and then it goes out from here?
We actually go and get it.
Okay.
And every Friday we make that bread run, and it's a big thing for us.
I tell you, you're going to inspire a lot of people as they're going to be thinking about their particular church and what other opportunities they can do for mission. Now, you're a physician,
yes.
And you're here in New Orleans, and you were here during Katrina and witnessed all of that. We just left the lower Ninth Ward and saw the devastation there, and yet also saw incredible signs of hope. And so you too have lived through that in a major way.
Yes.
What are any reflections you might have on what you went through Katrina and how medicine was affected, or how you were able to maybe minister through medicine?
Well, a group of us did stay at this church during Katrina, and we stayed for about 2 weeks, and when we felt that the building in the area was secure, we left. But we came back shortly. And we were able to do some sharing at that time, and we witnessed a lot of good things happening in the neighborhood and elsewhere. A lot of people were sharing with others, and I think that was, you talk about hope, that gives you hope when you see sharing. And that spurred us on to do even better things. And that was one of the highlights when we saw other people helping other people. They didn't have to ask, they do you need water? Can we, do you need a ride? That kind of thing. So that really inspired us and lifted us.
On a medical end of it, how was that effective?
Well, I think New Orleans was very lucky because the water system had been compromised, and there was a major prediction that there'd be major outbreaks of different diseases, and we actually didn't see that. And I think that I don't see how that didn't happen, and it just didn't happen, and I can't explain it. We were just very lucky because 80-90% of New Orleans was inundated by the flood and the bad water, and of course our water systems were compromised, but we were blessed that I guess the city of New Orleans and the nation was able to reverse the situation. Mm-hmm. I think the major medical miracle or positive thing was that our water system was reversed and made usable within about a month. But
impressive.
I can tell you, every time I'd open the paper, there was a prediction that there was going to be a major epidemic here.
And then there wasn't.
And there wasn't. Mm-hmm. So we're very fortunate we dodged that bullet. I think that's probably the biggest bullet we dodged here.
Did your medical associates get overwhelmed, exhausted? How did they handle that?
So many people left that New Orleans was down to a skeleton staff, so that that really wasn't a problem within about 2 weeks. But initially during that first week or two, a lot of people hadn't evacuated. So there were a lot of people trapped in hospitals, like the Veterans Administration. I actually visited a comrade down there, and it took them about a week to evacuate the hospital. And I could witness some of the things that were happening at the Superdome and on the interstate system, people trying to walk out. So I can just say personal witness through the Veterans Administration that, they had their cooling system was compromised, but they made it and they were able to evacuate everybody out within about a week. So it was a good thing.
And where were you you said you were here during Katrina, in the church?
Yes.
What was that like?
Well, I thought we'd done very well.
Yes, you did.
And because often windows would pop open, but we would grab them and nail them shut, and we'd monitor the building and go around, and actually the building has a good foundation, as you mentioned, and is on a high-rise St. Charles Avenue. The architects were very smart when they built because they were very conscious of hurricanes. So we're actually raised. And there were some broken windows and things like that, but we minimized it. But the main credit goes to the architect that did such a great job of designing and building this church.
That's beautiful architecture.
Oh.
Right here on St. Charles, you've got one of the most beautiful landscapes for people to come and experience graceful settings. And you got the Audubon Park, you got the Audubon Zoo, you've got Tulane, Loyola. You're right here in the midst of incredible ecumenical community, Jewish Center and the Catholic, Episcopal, Presbyterian, Methodist, and Christian.
Correct.
And
yes.
y'all are all part of a ministry together.
That is correct.
Now, a lot of people in New Orleans come down for the music and come down for the fun, and yet they're also broken people. And it seems to be that this is an incredible outreach that you have with 20 AA meetings a week to bring wholeness and a safe place. And what I like about what y'all do is it's not like they're using your church and then you expect them to join your church. It's not that kind of evangelistic focus. It's more, hey, we are the church. They are the church. We're all part of this together. It's kind of like small groups within this community of faith. Though they're not actual members here, but they still feel welcome to come in here, it seems like.
Correct.
Yeah.
they consider it part of their church. It's their place, and we welcome them.
Beautiful. Thank you for being a missional church. You model that for us.
Thank you, Reverend Tom.
You're welcome. Thank you, Tom Pollinard. Good to be with you.
Thanks for coming.
All right.
Stick around. The Road in Between will be right back. In today's world where most businesses and corporations' main mission is to simply make profit, CRM Companies differs itself by focusing on being successful in a way that also promotes growth and prosperity in the community. CRM Companies isn't simply a commercial development and management company. They create opportunities, they create jobs, they maximize the potential for growth and development of a better community, all while still providing great services and outstanding customer relations. Learn more about CRM Companies and their mission today. Visit crmco.com.
Award-winning, quality, experience. Glass Incorporated's expert team can handle single window panes to entire high-rise buildings. Whether you need storefronts, glass replacement, mirrors, or shower enclosures, no job is too big or too small. Glass Incorporated, your commercial and residential glass experts. Locations in Meridian, Foley, Alabama, and the Mississippi Gulf Coast.
We're back with The Road in Between with Tom Sykes.
Today we've had a very unique day looking at two different churches in two totally different contexts. And yet what remains the same is the bottom line, it's all about love. And you can have everything else, but if you don't have love, you don't have anything. And we have had conversations with people who love God and love to share the message of God's hope with people. People who are not only full and whole, but a lot of people who are broken. And whether it be in the lower ninth ward where they went through incredible devastation with hurricanes, and this sense of God recreating out of the void and out of the darkness and out of the emptiness. God's still creating. And then we come here today to St. Charles Avenue Christian Church, and we see surrounded by incredible wealth and landscape and beauty, and yet there's still a great need for a church to minister to those who are broken. And I'm really touched by the fact that they have 20 AA meetings here a week. Not one, they have 20. They have 4 today. And it reminds me that that really is what the church is for. It is for broken people who discover the wholeness of God, and that God works through weakness to show God's strength. If you're looking for a church, and you're looking for a church that's active in community, look at St. Charles Avenue Christian Church, and look at Greater New Jerusalem Church down in the lower ninth ward. They are modeling the missional church. It is the future church. It is a church that I highly recommend people to experience and consider. Maybe you're in a dying church and you're wondering how to reach out to the next generation. Well, I can tell you this, that the generation walking down this sidewalk is looking for a church that's active in their community. We're grateful for you being here. Thank you for being with us on the Road in Between in New Orleans, Louisiana.
I'm on my way. I can't wait to see the brighter day. I'm on my way. I can't wait to see the brighter day. I can't wait to see the brighter day.
The Road in Between would also like to thank these fine sponsors. Closed captioning is brought to you by BMG, Benefits Management Group,